Hello again, and welcome to another episode of the GetPianoLessons.com video series. In today's program, we're going to move ahead with our 9th lesson, where we'll begin to play a more progressive set of notes with each hand at the same time. And up until now, we've kind of had it easy. I mean, when we first started out in our first lesson, all we needed to do was to concentrate all our attention on one hand at a time. And then in lesson number 7, when we finally began to play the piano with both hands, we still weren't totally committed to giving both our hands a real workout at the same time. I mean, we first started out by playing more notes with our right hand and allowing our left hand to follow along in support. And then, just in our previous lesson together, we did the exact opposite of that and gave our left hand a chance to play the more active role in our piano exercise. But in today's lesson, we're not going to have that luxury anymore of relaxing one hand while focusing on playing a busier set of notes with the other hand. This time, each hand will be just as busy playing a completely different set of notes at the same time and at the same rate of speed. Okay, so get ready to get off of that couch and join me here on the keyboard, and let's play some music. Okay, I'm glad you could join me, because today we're going to slowly begin to train our hands to work independently of one another on the keyboard. And that's a very important thing to learn, because you'll find that not always will you be playing piano pieces where one hand plays a melody line and the other hand simply supports that melody line, such as this one. No, it's not always going to be that sweet and easy. There will be times when both your hands are going to need to play two completely different note passages at the same time. So in order to develop that type of independence with the two hands on the keyboard, we're going to practice playing two separate note sequences in both hands simultaneously. But first, we're going to start out with a kind of tune-up exercise. As you can see by looking at this assignment, we're not going to be able to rest one hand in lieu of one busier hand. Each hand is going to play one note for every beat we count. So there really is no time to rest in between the beats, as was the case in our previous lesson and also in lesson number 7. However, if you take a good look at this sequence of numbers, you may notice that this exercise is actually very simple to play. Because although both hands are busier in this exercise, we're consistently playing the same fingers during each beat. Keep in mind, we're not playing the same notes during each beat, we're just using the same fingers. For instance, let's get both our hands back in their C hand positions on the keyboard, and let's take a look at how this assignment actually starts out. Now on our first beat, our right hand has to play our number 1 finger, which is our thumb, and our left hand also has to play the number 1 finger, which is also the thumb. So on our first beat, we simply have to play both thumbs. And then on our second beat, our right hand needs to play the number 2 finger, which is our index finger, and our left hand also plays the number 2, which is the index finger. And likewise, moving on to the first beat of our second section, both hands must play the number 3 fingers, our middle fingers. And then on the next beat, we need to play both number 4 fingers, which are the ring fingers. So this assignment will be a lot easier for us to start out with, and is designed to kind of tenderly introduce us to this much busier playing style, because we're essentially playing the same sequence of numbers with both hands. And as long as our hands are in their appropriate C hand positions on our keyboard and each finger is rested on its properly assigned piano key, there's really no way we can mess this up. In fact, I'm going to suggest we start out by playing both hands together and just breeze straight through this first assignment. If you feel it necessary to play each hand individually at first, well, feel free to do so. But I'll bet we can just belt this exercise out on the first try using both hands. So, with our hands in their proper positions on our keyboard, let's count it out. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so now that we have the basic rhythm down of what it's like to continuously play notes with both hands simultaneously, let's try it again. But this time, let's add a sight reading challenge to it. Okay, now that our hands are completely awake and ready to move on to our next challenge, let's take a look at our next two-handed piano task. And once again, you can see that we've got a very busy set of numbers to play in each hand at the same time. On every beat we count, we're playing one note in each hand, and there's not even a chance to take a break in between the beats or rest until we've reached the very end of the exercise. But also notice that the blue sequence of numbers on top are completely different from the green sequence of numbers on the bottom. Now that means we'll always be playing different set of fingers in both hands at the same time. So this exercise is going to require a bit more concentration on sight reading than in our last exercise. And I'll give you a brief reminder about how we go about reading two lines of numbers written for both hands. If you remember from part 2 of Get Piano Lesson 7, I said that we read our notes from top to bottom and then from left to right. So that means that with both hands in their proper positions on our keyboard, the first thing we'll read is that number 1 in the right hand and then that number 3 in the left hand. And according to the way our assignment is written, we're going to play them both on the first beat. And then on our second beat, our eyes catch sight of that number 2 written for our right hand, and next we'll read the number 2 for our left hand. But obviously we play them both at the same time as well. And then moving on to the first beat of our second section, we'll notice the number 3 written for the right hand, and then our eye will see the number 1 written for the left hand. Once again, played at the same time. And again on our second beat, we sight read the number 2 written for our right hand once more, and then we'll also see the number 2 written for the left hand. And these notes are also played together. Now remember, this all happens within fractions of a second, just about the same speed it would take for you to read the letters and words from the pages of a book and read them out aloud. Alright, so sight reading is something that happens very fast, as I said, just like reading a book. And because it might be a little difficult to fluently read and play this exercise all the way through in the beginning, let's first split this assignment up into the separate right hand and left hand parts and become more acquainted with it. So let's get our right hand in our middle C hand position and practice playing this very familiar sounding melody line in time with the beat. And 1, 2, 3, 2. 2, 3, 4, 3, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 1, 1. Okay, and that should have been easy enough since we've actually played this finger pattern before in an earlier lesson. But today we're doing something different because we have a left hand part that will accompany this melody line and add some harmony. So let's get our left hand in our proper C hand position and see how these left hand notes are going to add new life to a very simple sounding melody line. And 3, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 4, 5, 1, 3. Okay, so now that we're confident and comfortable reading both lines of numbers individually, let's take a look at the full assignment and see if we can't play this all the way through without stopping or making any mistakes. But if you do have difficulty in the beginning, or if this pace is a little too fast for you at first, just remember you can always write these numbers down off your screen and then play them as slowly as you need to until you get the hang of this exercise. and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Alright, and now just so that we can really begin to master this busy double-handed playing style, I want us to switch this assignment around in reverse and play it in the opposite direction. After all, we really need as much practice as we can possibly get if we're going to be prepared to take our final exam after lesson 10. And, I might have forgotten to mention that there will be an actual piano test at the end of Get Piano Lesson 10. And you will receive a final grade on your performance, so let's try to nail these next few piano exercises perfectly. Okay, so let's start this assignment out the same way we did our last exercise and split it up with the right hand notes first. And again, even in reverse, this melody line is still going to sound slightly familiar because we've also played this in the past as well. Alright, so let's get our right hand in our middle C hand position and play each note in time with the beat. And 5, 1, 1, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 3, 4, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now let's work the second layer of this exercise and see how the left hand brings harmony to this piece. Let's get our left hand in our C hand position on the keyboard and let's play it along with the beat. And 1, 3, 1, 5, 4, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so now that we've practiced playing each hand in time with the beat separately, let's see if we can carefully sight read and play both sets of notes at the same time and still stay in time with our beat. Okay, so let's get both our hands in their proper positions on the keyboard and let's count it out. And 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And I'll just say again that if this is a little difficult for you in the beginning, just pause the video and grab a piece of paper and a pen and write the notes down as you see them on your screen. That way you can slowly play each section of this exercise at a pace that's just right for you. Okay, welcome to bonus exercise 5. Here we'll do one more variation of the last piano exercise we did in lesson 9. But the cool thing is, only you are going to get to see it. Why? Because it's only available on this DVD. So let me show you a great new trick I just learned when you're playing separate note sequences in each hand on the piano. First, let's bring back the graphic for the last piano assignment we just completed in lesson 9. Now remember, the upper line of blue numbers we played with our right hand, and the lower line of green numbers we played with our left hand. And these separate number sequences together is what gave this exercise its distinctive sound. But now, what would happen if we suddenly switched both lines of numbers around so that the right hand is playing numbers assigned for the left hand, and the left hand is given the numbers originally meant for the right hand? Now, would this sound like a completely different piano exercise? Well, let's find out. Let's get our right hand in our classic C hand position on the keyboard and get ready to play the right hand part of this crisscross piano exercise. And guess what? We're going to play it both forward and backward all the way through and all at once. So here goes. And 4, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3. Well, I think we can definitely see that compared to how this exercise originally sounded, this variation of notes sounds completely different. And I think it's just another great example of how you can still get extremely creative even though you're only working with 5 notes in each hand. So let's move on to our second hand and see how the left hand will harmonize this interesting new melody line. And 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 1, 1, 1, 1, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 3, 4, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2, 5. Now remember, these are the numbers that were originally assigned to our right hand fingers. And now that we're playing this sequence of numbers with the fingers for our left hand, you can really hear how they sound completely different. So now let's go ahead and see what this entire assignment is going to sound like now that we've switched both sets of numbers around to be played with the opposite hands. And 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Alright, now if you were able to play that last double-handed exercise all the way through without stopping or making mistakes, then you should give yourself a pat on the back, because you just performed the longest piano arrangement we've ever had in this beginner course so far. However, if you found it a little difficult to instantly recognize and play the correct fingers in each hand in time with the beat, then I'd suggest you spend a little extra time practicing the sight reading assignments laid out in Get Piano Lesson 7, 8, and also in this lesson until you're quite comfortable playing 2 different sets of number sequences in both hands at the same time. Because in our next lesson, we'll be presented with an even longer and much more complex double-handed fingering pattern, which is actually designed to get us prepared for the final exam at the end of Get Piano Lesson 10. So, as I said, I highly recommend that you master these materials first before venturing ahead into our next piano lesson. Because if you thought this lesson was a challenge, you haven't seen nothing yet.